Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave, and I am answering questions today from tested patrons. And the question today is specifically Mythbusters themed, and that's why I'm wearing this shirt. I know it doesn't say Mythbusters, but bear me out. Way back in 2005, when we first went down to the Bahamas to go film with Stuart Cove and his incredible team, we connected up with Neptunic, the company that makes shark armor. They make chainmail that you wear to go diving with sharks. And we dealt with Neptunic, and Jamie and I were required by the insurance company to wear their shark armor while we were underwater. And Neptunic showed up and gave our whole crew Neptunic t-shirts. That's what this shirt is. It's Neptunic. And what you don't know is that everyone on the Mythbusters crew that got one of these shirts loves it forever. And every time any one of us would wake up and put on this shirt, our partners would go, damn, you look good in that shirt. That's a nice looking shirt. Like every one of us, Maddie, Saws, all of us, like we'd put on this shirt and our partners would admire it. And you know, you want to put something on that your partner likes. This right here, I put it on this morning. My wife was like, ooh, I forgot about that shirt. So it seemed appropriate to wear my Neptunic shark armor shirt for a Mythbusters themed question. And today's question comes from Tommy Stevens, who says, how often did the myths that Carrie, Grant, and Tori do excite you more than the one you were filming? And how much involvement or input did you have in their myths, if any? First of all, lots of involvement. It was a very cross-pollinated set of teams. Absolutely, like everybody had input. The story meetings that we would have were just delightful for that. And frequently in the story meetings that we would have, which was every about 2 or 3 months, there would be natural, most of the time it was pretty natural who wanted a story and who was going to tackle it, right? It was just it became pretty clear most of the time. But there were several occasions in which those guys got to test a story that I really, 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 really wanted. And I'm going to tell you about the first one. And it's going to kill me because I still want to do it. And it's breaking out of prison using toilet paper. Specifically as rope. Oh, man, I wanted this story. It's so... Look, if you want to wrap your head around something weird, just realize that rope, which can hold up, you or your car or boats or buildings, are still made of tiny little threads, which each one of them in and of itself does not have a lot of tensile strength. Ropes are strong because of the grouping and the weaving and the twisting and the frictional aspects of all of those little fibers. And it turns out, and those guys proved it, you can do that with toilet paper. I still really want to try it. As much as I want to go back and do Dorodongo again and make shiny mud balls, yes, I'm eventually going to do the tinfoil ball. Or I should do that here on a one-day build. At any rate, that's a whole other thing. They got to test breaking out of prison using toilet paper rope, and they had this beautiful location. I think it was a jail. It was a jail, or at least it was a beautiful government building over in Oakland. I was jealous of the whole shoot. They had so much fun doing it. Yeah. But, sometimes you can't always get what you want. Where would you put it? The big story that I really, really wanted to do was beating the lie detector. And right up front, can I just tell you that lie detectors are shite? They're shite. I don't doubt that a talented, qualified operator could do better than a statistical guessing and figuring out the relative truth of something here or there. But this is, sure, there are circumstances in which you could come up with a result that was better than statistical guessing. But for the most part, in scientific methodologies, lie detection has never done much better. It hasn't done much better. So lie detectors are terrible, and they're shite. I don't believe in them. And that's based on the research that I did. However, when I was researching this story, I can't remember who came up with it, but I do remember being like, oh, and just getting on Google and starting to look at how other people methodologically tested them. And one of the difficulties they have with lie detectors when you want to test them is, in real life, the people who are trying to foil the lie detector have the biggest stakes imaginable for succeeding. It is almost always their freedom, or sometimes whether or not they get a job. These are the biggest stakes imaginable, right? I mean, you're applying for a job and it depends upon you being truthful in this. That's a stressful situation. You've committed a crime and the FBI wants you to take a lie detector and you're trying to beat it. The stakes are your freedom. That is a difficult emotional state to replicate methodologically in a clinical atmosphere. And I didn't read many studies that got even close to that kind of emotional state. And so I came up with this idea. And it was based on, Linda Wolkovich was our amazing producer who was in charge of that shoot. She found an incredible lie detector dude who was on the good side. He understood what it could do and understood what it couldn't do and spoke very rationally about that. So again, Linda was one of the great finders of experts. And this guy was great. And he helped Carrie, Tori, and Grant concoct a test in which they would go into Jamie's office and steal a $20 bill from his wallet. And that's a fine test to do. And all of them found it really creepy to go into Jamie's office and do that, which was totally understandable. But here's the thing. The stakes still aren't there. Jamie's not going to send them to prison. He's not going to call the cops. He's not going to press charges. So how do you add stakes? Well, part of what I was thinking was maybe you don't have to add the stakes. Maybe you can simply add an emotional component, because that's what the stakes do. They add an emotional component to your answer. So what if we could, I thought, add an emotional component to stealing $20 from Jamie's wallet? And here's what I came up with. Sorry for leaving, I needed a prop. I came up with, they would go into Jamie's office and they would take a 20 out of his wallet, and then they would open up this little vial of dog poop and they'd take out a spatula and they'd spread a little dog poop, just a tiny amount, on like Jamie's computer monitor. Here's the thing. Touching poop is freaking awful. Dog poop smells horrendous. That is an emotional component. That is a disgusting thing to do. It doesn't matter that everyone knows you're doing it. It doesn't matter that that's the structure of your job that day. That is a gross thing. And I even talked to the guy. It was after we'd finished shooting, but I talked to the lie detector expert that we brought on, and he was like, "Oh, that's really good." And I was like beaming, like, yeah, I had a methodological breakthrough. But again, it wasn't my story. It wasn't my choice. I didn't get to try that specific aspect of it. And again, I don't say this, I don't tell this story by any way of saying that they didn't test it enough. Not at all. Their methodology was great. It's just, everybody brings their own thing to it. And that's what I wanted to bring to it. I wanted to talk about those emotional stakes, talk about ways of generating them. Yeah, I mean, and how do you generate emotion in Jamie? I think you have to add a new update card. I think that's the best way to do it. I will add one more coda to this, which is there were certainly here and there a few stories that they did that I would have loved to spend a day doing, some car driving and other stuff. But for the most part, each team really got to do the things that they gravitated towards, that they were really interested in, that they felt like they had something to contribute to, and that was really consistent across the whole thing. I will say there was one story that those guys did that blew my freaking mind, and it's one of my favorite stories they ever did. And it's not Carrie painting the leather cannon with the Gucci logos. Was it Gucci logos? I think it was Gucci logos, yeah. Or maybe it was Coco Chanel. It might have been Coco Chanel logos. No, it wasn't that one. It was the frozen pee on the airplane toilet leak episode. What Grant and Tori And Carrie, sorry, they're all three, but I just remember specifically Grant and Tori went to the main location where they had this wind tunnel and they could test it, and they let their fake pee with the blue stuff leak out of the plane. It created this ice block, and then it fell off, and the part that fell off was about the size of the pieces that had fallen through people's houses. And the look that Grant and Tori gave each other where they were like, oh, 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 ah, like, just, again, chef's kiss, one of my favorite moments of the show ever. Ever. Yeah. Thanks for those memories. Thank you guys for these wonderful questions. Tested patrons, submit your questions and I will continue to answer them, and I'll see you guys next time.